Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So here's talking about YellowJackets episode 3 titled The Dollhouse. Before we go into it, please make sure to like this video if you guys have been enjoying it, and please make sure to subscribe to keep up with YellowJackets and all the new movies and TV shows out there. So I think I'm going to structure this like how I did it with the last episode 2 recap and review. I sort of like went through the start and end of different storylines. I didn't go in order of the episode. So like I'll start out with the woods, everything that happened in the woods in 1996. We'll start from there, talk about everything that happened there. Then we'll go into Thaisa and all her flashbacks and everything there. And then we'll end it with Natalie and Misty, and then Shauna and her stuff that went on as well, right? There's like 4 big storylines. So let's start with the woods. Let's get into it. So the episode actually begins in the woods. We see that they've been on the island for about 3 days now. And I'm so sorry. It's not actually an island. Someone actually corrected me in the comments. I keep saying island because, you know, just like any sort of like stranded in this forest area thing, it's always an island in movie stuff, right? So I'm just always like just used to saying island. I think there's somewhere in Washington, D.C. area from what I've been told, right? So they're in the forest, I guess I'll say, right? And they're lost for about 3 days now. They hold a brief ceremony for the dead, and shortly after they decide to either stay at the plane or go to a lake that Thaisa found. So Jackie is a big advocate for staying at the plane, but she's quickly outvoted. You know, a couple of them want to stay, but you know the majority vote says that they want to go to the lake. So that's where they decide to go after painting like an SOS on the plane, telling that if someone comes that they've gone to the lake, right? So they go to the lake. They sort of just have fun in the lake. They like go in there, whatever. The big thing is that there's like someone sees a flash. I forgot which character sees it, but from the woods they say like, this flash looking at them, like a, you know, like a muzzle flash or like from like a camera. Obviously, mean that someone's watching them, right? So the big question is who's watching them. You know, like I don't have any answers. You guys have any theories? I don't. I was gonna bring up something from a movie that came out recently, Old. This sort of happens, but I don't want to spoil that movie for anyone that's seen that. But just bottom line, that someone is watching them on the island. So along with finding this lake, they also find this abandoned cabin. They decide to take shelter there. Lottie, one of the girls, she gets a bad vibe from the cabin, and Thaisa actually has to force her to come inside. That very night, Thaisa and Lottie, they find a dead body in the attic. It's pretty much like a skeleton. It's obviously been there for a while. You know, I don't know like who that could be. Obviously, you know, like they're just in this forest. I think it's not as big of a deal as the show made it seem. You know, like who could this person really be? The symbol was in the attic floor, I believe. I don't know how it's gonna play into anything. But you know, the main takeaway I think from all the island stuff is that they're not alone. You know, like someone's watching them. That person, the skeleton, either you know starved to death. I think there's no food in the cabin. That could be one thing, or the person was killed as the symbol was there. Maybe like some cult is on the island. You know, like I'm just not sure. Like any theories you guys have, just throw them at me. But I think the main takeaway is that they're not alone. So now in 2021, Thaisa, she's dealing with her son Sammy and some political attacks against her. She sees a political ad that sort of hints at her cannibalism, which may be like a hint towards what she did in the woods, right? The ad sort of goes into like, oh, she'll eat your something away, right? And I think that could be a hint that maybe there's rumors that she like resorted to cannibalism while in the woods. I think we're definitely going to see some sort of cannibalism from these woods. I'm thinking definitely Coach Ben, they might eat him or something. So I'm not going to say I'm excited to see that. Obviously, it's a gross thing, but I think it would be a cool dynamic to see with these like high school girls resorting to that manner. And then her kid Sammy also attacked another kid in school for saying something about Thaisa. And so Thaisa sort of confronts Sammy, and Sammy says like this weird line. Well, first he doesn't seem to care, right, about hurting this kid. He doesn't seem to care at all. And then he claims that Thaisa is not the bad one. He keeps saying that Thaisa is not the bad one. I don't know what that means. That's one thing about this episode, that it does raise more questions than answers. You know, like there's so many like things that happen in this episode where you're just like, you know, you just raise some more questions. Like the thing with Sammy saying here, it's just like I have no answers for you guys. You know, like again, throwing some theories. I'm gonna go into some theories towards the end, but let's just continue with the recap. So Thaisa is talking to Jessica, who's some reporter that she hired, to mostly keep an eye on the other survivors in case they talked, you know, for money or something like that. And because she has a political career, she doesn't want any of the survivors saying anything bad about her, you know, like for money or whatever, right? So Jessica, the reporter, gives her a tip actually about her opponent's daughter. And so she actually uses information to threaten her opponent. And the threat is that the daughter, you know, went to, I don't know if she went to rehab. She had some sort of drug problem, got arrested for it. And so she threatens the opponent, saying, if you put up any more of these ads, you know, I'm going to put your daughter's face in all the newspapers, right, exposing her drug problem. But most importantly with Thaisa, we get her childhood flashbacks, right? This is a big thing. We see 1 or 2 flashbacks with Thaisa with her dying grandmother. The most important one is like the second to last flashback where the grandmother's dying and she sees a weird image in the mirror. It's like a man with like this white face and like long black hair. And I think Taissa can see it, but we see what the grandmother sees. Really creepy image. And again, that's just like another question. Like I have no answers at all. I'm thinking maybe schizophrenia runs in the family. That's why Sammy's acting weird. But then I don't know. Like I'm not like a schizophrenic expert. I just know that there's like hallucinations and stuff, right? So I'm thinking maybe like that could be an answer. And even though the grandmother and Taissa's son Sammy is acting weird, Taissa doesn't act all normal as well. You know, like there's the last flashback where it's the grandmother's funeral, and it's sort of like this, like we're seeing parallels of all of her present day, her past, her childhood flashbacks, and then her as a teenager, right? And so they all go on at the same time, like simultaneously. We keep cutting back and forth. The one of her as a kid is her opening up her grandmother's eyelids while in the funeral to reveal that she's got like white eyelids. And then in the present day 2021, she steps on the eyelid of Sammy's toy, Manny, I think the name was, and the toy's like all battered up, and she steps on the eye and like picks it up. And then the Woods one is her finding the dead body in the cabin, right? So we see that like, you know, weird stuff has been happening to her whole life. Pretty interesting, but let's just keep going. So Misty and Natalie, they're continuing the road trip. Natalie confirms that Misty did mess with her car so that she could join the road trip. They go to Travis's cabin, which is where they wanted to go. And it looks abandoned and messy, so Natalie has to break in. And shortly after, they get arrested for breaking and entering. So while they're in jail, Natalie calls Taissa, who regularly helps her out when she gets into these sort of like situations. And we also learn that Taissa paid for her rehab. And so Taissa says that she has too much going on and she can't help. And then Missy's able to call like some guy named Kevin from the bar. That Missy's been like pretending to be Natalie because the guy liked Natalie. This whole thing, bottom line is that the guy's able to get them out of jail. So after this, they drive to Travis's place of work, and they find him hanging by the rafters inside the barn. Immediately, Natalie thinks that he didn't kill himself. She thinks that someone else killed him. While they're in the car, Misty gives Natalie this note from Travis saying, Natalie, she was right. Or like, tell Natalie she was right. And so Natalie isn't sure like what this might mean. But she does know, or she thinks, that Travis was murdered. So again, just some more questions, you know, like not many answers, not many theories I can throw at you guys. You know, like sometimes with these shows, you know, I can think a lot of stuff and I'm like, oh, maybe this connects to this or this and that. We could play around a little bit here and there, but nothing solid that I can think of. Like, who killed Travis? Like, the only thing I could think of, honestly, to tell you guys, that whoever killed Travis obviously has some sort of part to play with sending these postcards out with the symbol, right? That it all connects somehow. You know, I just don't really know who or who could be doing it. I still think Misty's like really sus, but I don't think it's her. So then the last storyline, let's just finish it off. We see Shauna, right, in present day. She's still investigating Jeff and his potential affair. This leads her to a hotel, you know, where she pretends to be like this agent or whatever. We don't have to go into that. But most importantly, she runs into Adam, which is the guy that she has been flirting with and she got into the accident with, right? So they decide to get drinks. Shauna's still focused on finding Jeff, seeing what he's doing. She sees Jeff exit with a blonde girl who's presumably Bianca, the person that he's supposed to be having an affair with. So then this leads Shauna and Adam to go into a hotel room together. That's sort of like where the episode ends, with them going to a hotel room together. And presumably, you know, to have sex or whatever, right? So that's going to be a relationship that's blossoming. I could see a twist where, you know, Jeff isn't really having an affair with this Bianca girl. Maybe it could be something else. Obviously, they're in a hotel, so we all know what that means. But I think it would be a cool twist if, like, Shauna already went through with this, cheating on him with Adam. Like, what if she learns that Jeff and Bianca are just, I don't know. I don't want to say just friends. It's sort of dumb. But something else is at play. Like, maybe he's helping her with something. I don't know. And then she could feel guilty about Adam. I think that'd be a cool little thing, but I don't believe it. I'm sure Jeff is just having an affair. So my rating for this episode is a 3.5 out of 5. So I think it was another good episode. I think 2 was like a little bit better. I think the storytelling and like I like the Shauna stuff with the Jeff stuff. I thought that was funny. This one was good. Like it was solid. It was good. I think the show would work more as a binge, but it's still like I still look forward to it all the time. I do enjoy this episode a lot. But I think a binge thing would be pretty cool. But that's probably just me wanting answers, you know, like as soon as possible. I hate having to, you know, have a whole week where I'm just theorizing, trying to think of stuff. But overall, the Wood stuff was good. You know, the 1996 stuff was good. I did like the whole, I think Wonderwall. No, it wasn't Wonderwall. It was the Cranberries' Dream Song playing when the girls were running to the lake. So 90s. And the intro, I forgot to talk about that. The whole new intro we get to see. Super 90s. I love that. Love the whole vibe. But like I've been saying, we honestly only have more questions than answers to what's going on right now. Which is good for episode 3. You know, we're still in the beginning. We don't want everything handed to us at once. Because then what's the fun in that? So I do enjoy that. And, I don't have any answers. Like, who's watching them at the beach? Like, who knows? Honestly, it could be anyone. The dead guy, like, how could he connect with all this stuff? I'm not sure as well. Thaisa obviously played a huge role in this episode. Her politics stuff continues to, like, I don't care about that. Like, when she, like, threatens the politics person and she sees the ad. Like, that's just, I just don't think it's that interesting. Like, I don't care. But her flashbacks were really interesting, and still her Sammy and her son continues to be like really interesting and creepy, which is like her stuff is the creepiest part of the episode, which I enjoy the creepy aspects. But again, like I don't have any answers to that stuff as well, like with the flashbacks and the grandmother seeing it, except for that schizophrenia theory. But that's just like me throwing out like I don't know I forgot what the term was. And then the last big thing is Natalie and Misty finding Travis's dead body. Like I said, it's got to be linked to whoever is sending out the postcard. But again, I'm just not sure. So if you guys have any theories for me, please comment them down below. Because I honestly got nothing. Like, this is just an episode where there's no answers. There's nothing to really theorize about, right? I mean, there's stuff to theorize about, but there's nothing to, like, really delve too deep into. We just have to see what happens. Like, I don't have any leads for Travis's death, these flashbacks. Like, it's so many questions, and it leads towards a lot of twists for the back end, right? So we're like the back half of the season, when we're getting answers to all these different plots and storylines from all these different timelines, which is really cool. It leads like a lot to be discovered. It's very interesting, very intriguing, and I think the show's good. I think it's really good. So let me know what you guys thought of the episode down below. Did you enjoy it? Please make sure to like this video if you guys enjoyed the video, and please subscribe if you're new. And I will see you all in the next video. Have a great rest of the day.